Hello and welcome to this launch event of the Overseas Qualified Social Work Development Programmes. My name is Jane Shears. I'm Head of Professional Development at the British Association of Social Workers. I'm also the IFSW, the International Federation of Social Workers, Global Commissioner for the Ethics Commission, and I'm currently also a current practice educator. So our next slide, please. Thank you. Our overseas launch event is supported today by Duke Tran, who is co-chair of the BASWA Diaspora Special Interest Group, by Dr. Shui-Ting Kong, Associate Professor in Social Work at Durham University, and Hei Chow, who is the Senior Community Organiser for UK Welcomes Refugees, lead of the Hong Kong Social Workers Action Network. And all our presenters today have been involved in the development of the programmes that you're going to hear about. So I'd like to pass over to Duke Tran. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. It is indeed so exciting, and I'm grateful to be part of this initiative by BASWA around the Overseas Qualified Social Worker Programme. I think it's a great initiative, and of course it has been co-produced with the Diaspora Special Interest Group, in which I'm co-chair. The Special Interest Group was set up in 2020 to support the overseas qualified social workers and those who identify with an ethnic community. I have to say that is now includes students as well, so we're a growing community. As you know, these social workers do choose to migrate to the UK to live and to work and to study. They pay taxes like every other worker and are equally committed to their roles and responsibilities, whether that is in frontline work or in indirect work. They are an essential part of the workplace fabric, has been always and will continually be the case. They come with added value skills and experience, which includes years working in government and NGOs, projects, community social work and cultural understanding of their own cultures in which they bring to the workplace. And hence they do offer a unique perspective and approach to social work interventions. Specifically, there are language skills that they can help in terms of engagement with the diverse communities that may be difficult to access, or they themselves find difficult to access services, because most of the services, as you know, are in English in the UK. And they can also support their teams to understand the cultural and family customs and traditions that would inform social work interventions, and also promote wider cultural exchange and understanding. So they do help to develop a more diverse and inclusive workforce, reflecting the demographic changes in our society, and help to promote a more inclusive and diverse workplace. With a small investment in training and support, they can make a positive impact to our workplaces and for the people that we serve for many years to come. So hence, I do believe that it is important to provide the appropriate support, and the initiative that you're here today is one of those that can make a real difference. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Duke. I think it's really helpful for you to outline the information on the slide around the importance of supporting people to come and work in the UK, and the diverse community contributions that people make across the wider social work workforce. So thank you very much. Yeah, I think one of the original ideas for developing the programmes came from quite a few social workers contacting BASWA in all of the 4 nations, inquiring about coming to work in the UK. And it's really, really good news that we've been able to engage with Shui-Ting and Hei Chow to start to look at some of the challenges that overseas qualified social workers have been facing in that journey across to work in UK roles. And I'm really pleased to, if we could have the next slide, please, to invite Dr. Shui-Ting Kong and Hei Chow to talk to us a bit about their research in the current challenges. So over to you, Shui-Ting and Hei.
Thank you so much, Jane, Duke, and everybody. I think I'm just so pleased to see today is the launch of this program. It's been almost 2 years work together. I'm Shui-Ting, and I'm so pleased also to co-present with Hei, who is like so key to organizing Hong Kong and social workers in the UK and feedback constantly about their needs and also what we need to do as a group of professionals and academics. You care so much about social practice. Not just about the UK social practice, but sort of transnational practice for advancing the profession. Next slide, please. So this is a collaborative project that we started almost 2 years ago. You can't believe how long it has been. It is a collaborative project among us, Durham University, BASWA, and UK Welcome Refugees. Next slide, please. It is to look into the concerns and experiences of Hong Kong social workers. I think, the question that would pop up is why Hong Kong and social workers in the UK? If we can go to the next slide, please. I think it's actually kind of like tells a little bit about why Hong Kong as a case is so important, because the BNO visa implemented in January 2021 has been said to be an unprecedented response from the UK government in relation to the deterioration of freedoms and the political crackdown of another country or city in our case. And when they say it is unprecedented and one of the best humanitarian pathway, it means that it is very quickly put together in response to the situation, as well as more relaxed eligibility in response to the need of people to kind of move out of the city. At the same time, the support and the injection of like resources in supporting the community is also unprecedented. It is not common to see in humanitarian pathways like this. But because it is considered to be the best and unprecedented, it is also important to look into the experiences of Hong Kong diaspora and also Hong Kong diaspora social workers. If they are already so well supported in this particular scheme, what kind of needs they would have in order to kind of enter the workforce here in the UK. If they are well supported through this pathway, they still have those needs, let alone other social workers who migrate through other, humanitarian pathways or other pathways into the UK. So that is one point of significance. The other point of significance is that quite often the lower income financial threshold is a characteristics of humanitarian pathway. That also means that a lot of social workers who might not actually qualify to apply for the skilled workers visa, particularly with the rise of salary threshold right now, would be able to kind of come through those pathways. So in that case, our estimation is that there would be about 1,000 Hong Kong social workers qualified in Hong Kong who will have migrated to the UK in the first 5 years of the implementation of the BNO visa. And that will help us to understand how we actually understand the experiences in registration, employment, as well as really promoting transcultural learning. It is just like what you just talked about, how we learn from the experiences and their engagement with the community of Hong Kong diaspora in the UK, and to really, really learn how to actually change the way we practice and support young people, family who moved, from Hong Kong to the UK and scattered across different sort of cities and towns in this country. So for this particular reason, we believe that Hong Kong as a case is actually a way to support support and understand how to enhance our training and system support for overseas qualified social workers. For this reason, almost 2 years ago, we started this transnational social work project, a collaborative project, and started with an online survey to Hong Kong qualified social workers. And later on, Hay helped set up the Hong Kong Social Worker Action Group that fed back to multiple outputs that came out from the collaborative initiative. Including this particular program that we are seeing today, and also the practice briefing, policy briefing that we've been kind of putting together. And also based on the cases collected in a Facebook group, also coordinated by Hay, we managed to understand the challenges to registration and job seeking of Hong Kong social workers in the UK, which is something that we're going to talk about. Next slide, please. 36% of them having a master's degree, with a significant percentage, about 12%, they are sub-degree holders. They might actually have different sort of challenges in terms of proving their capabilities to practice here, but that would be in another presentation, not today. But also, I think what we would like to highlight is that for those who are planning to come or have already come to the UK, most of them actually want to go back to the workforce within 5 years' time. And for those who haven't come yet, they are also planning to come within 5 years' time. Next slide, please. And with this intention to practice in the UK, we also try to understand what are the barriers that Hong Kong qualified social workers perceive to be having, what we can do to boost their confidence and sense of competence to practice and really join the workforce here, while we are suffering from the shortage of workforce for so many years across the board. So one of the many things that they highlight is the need to understand legal and service frameworks in the UK, employment landscape, including different fields of service and scope of services, language barriers, and cultural differences. I think on the basis of all these, it helps us to kind of think about if we are going to devise a program for overseas qualified social workers, how can we put all these, different puzzles together and formulate a comprehensive package that can really support social workers coming from other countries to join us in terms of learning and training. Next slide, please.
If you wanted to mention.
So we particularly ask questions about what is important for them in terms of training. They talk a lot about policy, professional capability framework law, child protection, adult safeguarding, and communication with service users. And of course, as a team of like multiple talents, we managed to pull together all the information, best practice coming from, different sources already existing in BASWA's database. And in addition to that, we also add new good practices into the package to kind of respond to the needs already expressed by Hong Kong qualified social workers. Next slide, please. We didn't stop from there by just looking at the training need of Hong Kong social workers, but then we dive into the experiences of them. And this is where I think Hay would be in the best position to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thank you, Sui Ting. Hi all, great to be here to share with you, to share my story. I'm Hay, a social worker and a lecturer from Hong Kong and UK. I'm also a new immigrant in UK and I arrived here for 3 years. I know all of you come from different parts of the world. So you may take Hong Kong as an example today. We are on the same boat. Yeah, we are on the same boat. So first of all, I would like to share some statistics to you. There are around 190,000 Hong Kongers arrived UK already. They escaped from Hong Kong to UK because of our city was destroyed in every aspect by the mainland China government, and all pro-democratic organizations are closed down, while the pro-democratic party and pro-democratic councillor in our parliament are being sent to jail. There are some brainwashing programs started in the school also. So we expect that There are around 1,500 Hong Kong social workers in UK at the moment, while we network about 500 of them. Most of them are passionate, experienced social workers, but they have to give up their Hong Kong career and escape to UK. We would like to become a social worker again in UK, not only because it is a job. Social work is our mission to help others. It is a pathway to change the world. It is our core identity, in fact, as a social worker. However, as an immigrant, you lost everything. You lost your identity and you become nobody. Of course, you can say I'm a friend of Arsenal or I'm a friend of Manchester City or anything. But in fact, you lost most of your identity when you move to a new country. As an immigrant, it is really difficult to reach out to resources. You can imagine when we just arrived UK, we even need help to join the membership of Tesco. Of course, it is even harder to join the social work England to become a social worker, since we need to know the pathway and study resources in UK to pass the update skills and knowledge requirement from SWE. Of course, now I know what to mean by curb card accepted in UK, but just imagine one day you need to move your whole family to Korea and you want to be a social worker there. You can imagine it takes time. It really takes time to understand the landscape of the UK service. Moreover, for job hunting, there are still obstacles for us to find formal study or obtain a document called CNCC. That is something just like the DBS check from UK. It is something in Hong Kong document required from the Hong Kong government. But because of the political reason, it is difficult for us to reach that document, and it is an obstacle in our job hunting. And that is one of the reasons we start the Social Workers Action Network in UK to gather those experience and power here to work with the Social Work England local authorities that we really want to make some change in macro level. Luckily, the Hong Kongers can speak English, although it is our second language. But thanks God that the old Hong Kong culture has similar background and legal system to UK. The most lucky thing is that we connect to Dr. Shui Ting Kong from her university and lots of brilliant colleagues from BASW. They are really, really amazing. Luckily, we have this course launching today. It is really a milestone. It fulfills most of the service gap in the infrastructure before. With this course, we can adapt to the UK social work system easier. Before that, I used almost 2 years to study to understand the landscape. But now you can study with this course, you can understand it within 50 hours. It is amazing. Oh my God. But with this course, we can adapt to the social work system easier. And with this course, I think most of the overseas social worker can register in UK and contribute in UK. I believe that it is not only a matter of manpower, but the skill, the knowledge, and the cultural heritage we bring to the social service system of UK. I hope we will make a difference in UK in the future. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Hey. I think, nothing, speaks more powerfully, by just you really talking about the experiences of transition. I can see a lot of thumbs up and claps as well for you. It's just brilliant. I don't think, I need to highlight more about the registration and job seeking. Shall we go to the next slide? I think it is one of the milestones in the long journey, the long haul of changing the system, because we believe that if we really, really want to realize, the idea of global Britain, it is actually to look inward and look at our system and how far we are actually really supportive of people coming from different countries and culture. And we are continuing to do a lot of advocacy work based on the collaborative projects that we are having. We have been communicating with Social England, and hopefully can engage with other regulators to smooth the registration process, particularly to publish criteria for assessing what is formal study, because it has become quite a lot of hiccups, in the process of registration, and also to encourage regulators work very closely with training providers to really align, the training available, or to develop new training to fit that kind of gap, to be more supportive, of overseas qualified social workers in the journey of registration. And also, we really feel like we need to kind of keep talking to local authorities as employers to understand the difficulty of obtaining CNCC. But there is a guideline already published by DILA, which is a very good reference and good starting point to talk about what could be a replacement or substitute if CNCC DBS equivalent in Hong Kong, or possibly it would be the difficult situation for those who fled conflicts as well to obtain something equivalent to DBS in their own country if they haven't been here for long enough. So that guideline itself can have a potential to be a good practice, but also to allow local authorities to actually have a shared understanding of what can be a good substitution of an equivalent DBS checks equivalent. And we believe also that international recruitment strategies supported by Department of Health and Social Care should go beyond recruiting social workers or social care workers from other countries, but to look inside. There are migrant social workers already in this country. Can we also support localized strategies to recruit overseas qualified social workers already in the UK? It's probably quite a big policy gap at the moment. So the last one. We also do not stop at the point of advocacy. We learn from social workers who come from Hong Kong, and also young people who come from Hong Kong. We try to develop a model of transcultural learning, which is to learn from experiences of migrant communities and also migrant social workers, and really consolidate their good practice, best practice wisdom that support the development of workforce and understanding of migrant communities. And through a model like this, we now have already developed a training resource package for social workers in the UK to learn about the voices of young Hong Kongers and their experiences of violence and abuse in the transition from Hong Kong to the UK. So if anyone who would like to do some workshops with us, it is free training offered to UK social workers. And that's what we have right now. More to come in the future.
Oh, you're feel free to contact us. That is our emails. It's good to connect together from all over the world.
Thank you very much, Shui Ting and Hei, for such a comprehensive presentation. It's really good to have it based on actual empirical research. And I know that it has been a lot of work to get us to this point, and really helpful to understand what some of the challenges are, but also to be thinking about some of the solutions. So thank you very much. We're going to move on now just to do a short overview of what the overseas qualified social worker programs look like. And I say programs because we do have 2 programs. If you can go to the next slide, please. The overseas qualified social work landscape for us that was coming through into BASWA was that we were seeing 175% increase in the number of overseas qualified social workers applying to register with the regulators, the 4 regulators across the UK. And as we've heard so eloquently from Shui Ting and Hei, people were having different experiences into the transition to be working in social work posts in the UK. So what we aimed to do was to produce some learning materials that were co-produced with overseas qualified social workers that created a continuing professional development programme of support for colleagues into UK posts. And we wanted to do that within a clear underpinning ethical framework. So we developed these bespoke programs of continuing professional development specifically for social workers who've trained overseas. I know there was a question about whether this was Hong Kong specific, but it's for any social workers who would have trained overseas and are either planning to or have moved to the UK to work as a social worker. And as we've seen from our presenters, this has been co-produced with the University of Durham, Hong Kong Social Work Network, and BASWA's Diaspora Special Interest Group. So the two delegate packages that we've developed are the package A. It's not very creative, but it's a self-directed learning program for individuals who want to look to develop their own learning and continuing professional development around coming to work in the UK. And it consists of a practice handbook that has all the learning materials and a workbook that is where you record your learning and your written work from the exercises that form part of the programme. So it's a sort of formative continuing professional development programme. And then package B is a peer supported development programme. And that is really designed for people who have started employment and for whom there is added support for somebody coming into a new job that is over and above the usual kind of corporate induction that you would get. So next slide, please. So whether it's package A or package B, both of them include access to the professional handbook and workbook. And this is a self-directed digital resource. It's all online, incorporating a range of approaches to adult learning and professional development. And what we've done is tried to incorporate a range of learning activities that fit with all our knowledge and understanding around adult learning theory. So there's some reading, there's some podcast, audio, visual, reflective activities and exercises, and exploration of social work research and links to relevant websites. So some of the packages link out to other resources that help support your learning. So essentially in the package, there are 6 modules. One is Welcome to Social Work Practice in the UK, Social Work in the UK and some of the historical and practice contexts. Social work in the UK is sometimes different from where people may have already trained that may have a more community development focus. So we just provide some context around that. Then the third module is about the values and ethics that underpin our practice, which is obviously core code of ethics work that underpins all our social work practice. The fourth module is around supervised practice and getting the most from supervision. And we recognise that people will have different experience of supervision and different expectations around what supervision means. So we've sort of teased out some of the issues around that and put in place quite a lot of material around what to expect and what good supervision looks like. Then there's some, as Shui Ting was saying, what supports our practice is quite a lot of the material around the legal literacy, the statutory frameworks, as they relate to whichever area of practice you may be interested in working in, whether that's child protection, mental health, people with learning disabilities, etc. And then alongside this sits the learning workbook, which is where all the exercises and reflective activities are recorded, and that's your personal learning workbook for your journey through the continuing professional development. I think on the next slide we have a couple of examples of what the inside the course looks like. So these are just two reflective exercises. You get a guide time, so you've got an idea about how long it should take you to do each exercise, or listen to the podcast or watch the film. And you can see here that the reflective exercise 17 is thinking back to criminal justice social work. It's about listening to a podcast, recording what practice environment is the social work is being undertaken, the roles and responsibilities that the social workers bring in this in the criminal justice environment, and what skills and knowledge and experience you can transfer to this particular environment. Reflective exercise 22 looks at a short film. I'd like to acknowledge Jo Fox from Strengthening Practice in her commitment to supporting us to develop the programme to this point. This is about a social worker who makes an initial visit. It's kind of what social workers will do, home visits to do initial assessments. They're faced with a scenario, once you've watched the film, it would be thinking through what you've seen, what you think is happening in that particular scenario. So next slide, please. So the cost of the packages, we've had to consider both people wanting to access the continuing professional development who are currently in the UK, or people who are outside the UK. And obviously there is an added complexity around being UK in EU or out of EU, and whether you're working or hoping to come from a low-income country or already in a high-income country. So with all these various permutations, I think you can see from this slide, hopefully it's quite straightforward about where you would sit in terms of the cost of package A per delegate. Next slide, please. So the package B that I've mentioned, which is about the, it's really a peer supported year when people start in a post. And what we've done with this is aimed at really people once they have taken up a post in the UK, and is a combination of the handbook and workbook, but also includes action learning sets. So they would be facilitated by an external trained action learning set facilitator. And there would also include 3 hours of one-to-one coaching. So the action learning sets are group sessions, and the coaching would be one-to-one. And we're very excited about the development of social work coaching that BASWA is leading on currently through we're hoping to develop a social work coaching CPD course as well. So so that's really an exciting development. And also there would be an element of self-directed learning. And I think the self-directed learning is important because we see that very much as being role-based. So it's really about using inquiry-based learning led by professional curiosity in relation to the area that you're working in. So, for example, if you take up a post in mental health, you might want to use some of the time to get very acquainted with the services in your area, or the Mental Capacity Act, or the Mental Health Act, or the Equality Act. So very much about sort of legal literacy, or it may be visiting resources that can provide alternatives, for example, to hospital admission. but that really is very much role-based, inquiry-based learning specific to the employment role that you've taken up. The final slide, just to say that you can use the QR code. More information than we've been able to share today with the launch is available, and if you've got any further questions, please use the profd@basword.co.uk email address to send those through. And I'd just like to give a final thank you to all our presenters today, to everybody who has spent the last hour with us and joining us and hearing about this exciting new programme, and we hope that we'll be able to answer all your questions in the fullness of time. So thank you everybody, and have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you.